In Peru, 17 civilians died and another 52 others were injured in the police repression on the sixth day of protests against Dina Boluarte's government. The Brazilian Congress supports President Luiz Inácio Silva's decree establishing federal intervention in public security in Brazil following fascist actions by Bolsonaro's supporters. In the United Kingdom, unions announced they will maintain the strike call for the national health system workers after negotiations with the government stalled. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luiz Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The latest from the Peruvian Ombudsman's office confirmed on Monday that at least 17 people were killed in Juliaca, department of Puno, due to the brutal repression by security forces. According to the office's report, at least 17 people died and 52 were injured after the repression carried out by military and police forces who opened fire against demonstrators. The Peruvian Health Ministry, through the San Roman Health Network, confirmed that at 9 p.m. local time on Monday, the casualties included civilians between the ages of 17 and 55, while at least 4 dead remain unidentified. This occurs within the framework of the indefinite strike that began on January 4th to demand the closing of Congress, the resignation of Dina Boluarte, early elections, a constituent assembly, and the release of former President Pedro Castillo. These recent events bring the total number of civilian casualties since the protest started to 46. In addition, a police officer was found dead next to his burned police car on Tuesday morning. On Tuesday in Peru, the regional government of Puno declared 3 days of mourning throughout the southern department for the 17 deaths registered during the protests on Monday in Juliaca. The decree signed by Governor Richard Hanco Sonko provides for regional mourning on January 10th, 11th, and 12th, with the hoisting of the flag at half-mast in all public institutions of the Puno region. The document also invokes the Public Prosecutor's Office to initiate investigations against those responsible for these deplorable events. Peruvian social organizations demand an end to police repression at a time when the designated authorities are seeking a vote of confidence in Congress amid a climate of great uncertainty. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales called on the United Nations to stop the massacre against demonstrators who are demanding the resignation of President Dina Boluarte in Peru. Morales also called on the Inter-American Human Rights Commission of the Organization of American States to demand respect for the lives of Peruvians in face of police repression. On January 9th, the Peruvian National Migration Office banned the former Bolivian president from entering Peru under the pretext that he would be carrying out political activities that threaten the internal order. Morales said the present crisis will not be averted by vetoing his entry, and he reminded President Boluarte that while she used to support integration, now she attacks him, seeking to distract and dodge her responsibility for the violations of Peruvians' rights. Also on Tuesday, the Brazilian Congress approved President Luiz Inácio da Silva's decree establishing federal intervention in public security in Brazil following fascist actions by Bolsonaro's supporters. The Senate chamber endorsed the measure that will be enforced until the end of January, while some of Bolsonaro's political allies voted against it. This happens 1 day after the Chamber of Deputies gave the project its endorsement as well, with the part of the opposition leaving the chamber before the vote. The President of the Senate, Rodrigo Pacheco, assured that the anti-democratic minority does not represent the people of Brazil and will not impose state coups. Pacheco also affirmed that the financiers of the attempted coup d'etat will be identified and held responsible for the seizure of the Square of the Three Powers. In Uruguay, the unemployed assured that they will continue their hunger strike in front of the Executive Tower, headquarters of the presidency in the capital city of Montevideo. Demonstrators are protesting the expiration by the end of 2022 of the Job Opportunity Program, in which the National Executive had offered 10,000 temporary jobs to the unemployed, according to a group of former beneficiaries. Protesters also expressed that they were forced to start a strike since they are without work and want an answer from the government. In this sense, they pointed out that there are close to 10,000 people who work under the Opportunity Program and that now, without it, they are in precarious situations together with their families. Several landslides have occurred in the department of Cauca in Colombia, obstructing a stretch of the Pan American Highway and affecting at least 160 families. According to local authorities, the landslides were caused by a geological fault at kilometer 75 of the Pan American Highway in the municipality of Rosas. So far, no deaths have been reported, where at least 64 houses and a segment of the road that connects the departments of Cauca and Nariño have been damaged. The governor of Cauca, Elias Larraondo Caraballi, said arrangements have been made for the Air Force to move people who are at risk. President Gustavo Petro announced he had called off his presidential agenda in Chile to return to Colombia and to attend to the emergency. On Tuesday, Colombia's Vice President Francia Marquez denounced a new assassination plot against her. The high-ranking official took to Twitter to inform that her security team found a device with more than 7 kilos of explosive material on the road that leads to her family residence in the village of Yolombo in Suarez, Cauca. After these measures, Marquez stated that the evidence shows it wasn't a new attempt against her life. However, she assured that she will not stop working until total peace is achieved. The explosives were destroyed in a controlled manner by anti-explosive personnel of the Judicial Investigation Section of the National Police. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. On Monday, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador urged his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden to stop neglecting Latin America and the Caribbean and to foster a new policy for continental economic and social integration. Andrés Manuel López Obrador said the region has the potential to manufacture most of what it imports from Asia. He also recalled the Alliance for Progress implemented by U.S. President John F. Kennedy in 1961, which meant an investment of some $10 billion US. Today is equivalent of 82 billion over a 10-year period. He said the free trade agreement with the US and Canada has enhanced the importance of manufacturing processes and of regional markets for Mexico. Meanwhile, Biden stressed the importance of strengthening supply chains and of shared security, including the fight against smuggling. He also highlighted the need for actions to jointly address irregular migration. Biden said that over the past 15 years, the U.S. has spent billions of dollars in the hemisphere and that they must continue to support and build democratic institutions. Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard affirmed that the Organization of American States has become a disaster, while valuing the role of CELAC and the inauguration of Lula da Silva in Brazil as two positive aspects for Latin American integration.
We have to get the us out of the morass. It is a disaster. I am not talking about Almagro. I am talking about the institution. Almagro is worse, and the us is a disaster. We have to make CELAC become the main instrument of effective cooperation. The arrival of Lula is a huge breath of fresh air for all of Latin America. We can reactivate almost the whole structure, the whole Latin American architecture, which has more or less survived. We can reorganize it, we can relaunch it and make it effective.
Nurses' strike in New York City enters its second day on Tuesday with no contract agreement yet between the New York State Nurses Association and the two affected hospitals, Mount Sinai Main and Montefiore Bronx. Talks to resume at Montefiore Monday afternoon, and although an agreement was not reached, both sides have indicated they are close and will reconvene on Tuesday morning. Mount Sinai and New York Nurses Union have not returned to the table since breaking off at 1 a.m. Monday, and no new talks have been scheduled. About 8,000 nurses walked off the job on Monday after last-minute talks to prevent the strike broke down overnight. The union says members had to strike because chronic understaffing leaves them caring for at least 10 patients at a time, twice the ideal number, forcing them to stretch 12-hour shifts to 14 hours. In the United Kingdom, unions announced on Tuesday that they will maintain the strike call for the National Health System workers after a meeting with the Minister of Health, Steve Barclay, which they described as an insult. Nurses, auxiliary and ambulance personnel are called to protest from mid-January onwards, affirmed the Secretary-General of the United Union, Onai Kasab. The government has argued that inflation-matching pay rises would only fuel further price increases and cause interest rates and mortgage payments to go up further, committing to increase wages when next fiscal year starts. According to the union leader, the government stance is absolutely ridiculous and outrageous, as workers in the sector work shifts of up to 18 hours. Meanwhile, the Royal College of Nursing warned that the government has a long way to go to avoid what will be the second nurses' strike on January 18th and 19th. Ambulance staff are also called to strike on January 11th and 23rd. According to specialists in the field, the recent strikes in the UK are caused by soaring inflation and a deteriorating economy in the midst of a bitter cost of living crisis. The negotiator for Britain's Unite Union described proposals put forward by the government in talks on Monday as an insult to its members.
Fortunately, the government have missed yet another opportunity to put this right. We came here in good faith. What they want to talk about is productivity. Productivity, when our members are working 18-hour shifts, quite how you become more productive with that, I do not know. But today, unfortunately, despite us showing up in good faith, the government have missed yet another opportunity to put this right. And what will happen is that the strike action taking place by Unite members, our ambulance workers, and I think it is important to remember, this is about across the NHS. This isn't just nurses. Everybody who works across the NHS is just as important. Our ambulance members will be taking strike action on the 23rd. So very disappointed today, but unfortunately,
the Finnish Wind Energy Association reported on Tuesday that in 2022, Finland increased its wind power capacity by 25%, built wind power facilities with a total installed capacity of 2,430 megawatts, representing a 75% increase in wind power capacity. According to the report, the country has built wind power facilities with a total installed capacity of 2,430 megawatts. In 2022, wind power significantly increased the total renewable energy production in Finland, with the materialization of a total of 437 new wind turbines. On the other hand, the association pointed out that the completed projects brought more than $3 billion in investments to the country. Wind energy is currently the most widespread renewable energy source in the world. It is one of the main alternatives to fossil fuels because of the benefits it brings to the environment and society. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, an appeals court in Morocco increased the sentences of 13 asylum seekers by 6 months to 3 years over a deadly attempted crossing of the Spanish enclave of Melilla. The information was released by the group's lawyer, Mbarek Bourri, as he added that the accused are suspected of participating in a criminal gang of clandestine immigration, as well as illegally entering Morocco and attacking law enforcement officials. Around 2,000 people, many of them Sudanese, stormed the frontier on June 24th in a bid to reach Spanish territory across one of the European Union's two land borders with Africa. On Tuesday, Israeli occupation forces wounded 2 Palestinian youth during clashes that took place in Aqaba town, north of the West Bank city of Tubas. According to local sources, one young man was shot in the shoulder and tied and was transferred to the nearest hospital facility, where he was reported to be in moderate condition. The other Palestinian was shot and held for several hours by Zionist troops before being handed over to Palestinian Red Crescent medics. On the other hand, during the previous day, at least 10 Palestinian youth were arrested during a raid in the East Zawiya region of occupied East Jerusalem. According to United Nations human rights specialists, the occupying forces have killed at least 150 Palestinians last year, including 33 children. On Tuesday, the Nepalese Prime Minister Prachanda sailed through a vote of confidence, cementing his leadership after a general election in November last year through a hung verdict. Pashupati Samcharavana, the oldest Nepalese lawmaker, told the parliament after the voting process that the 68-year-old Prachanda, who has held the office 2 times before, won 268 votes, exceeding the 138 required. Only 2 parliamentarians voted against him in the 275-member parliament. In this case, 3 lawmakers were absent and 1 was suspended. In a surprising political development, the largest political party in the Nepali Congress decided to support Prachanda, indicating that the politics still remain on shaky ground. Since its transition to a parliamentary democracy in the 90s and a republic in 2008, Nepal has seen 33 governments in 32 years. Experts from Russia, Singapore, and Zimbabwe confirmed that China's optimized COVID-19 management measures will bring more opportunities for economic development, both for the Asian giant and the world at large. According to Sergei Katlin, chairman of the Russian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Chinese government's decision to optimize and adjust its epidemic prevention and control policy will boost economic confidence around the globe. He added that by doing so, bilateral trades between both nations will be greatly enhanced. Meanwhile, Wong Yu-hong, chairman of Singapore's National Association of Travel Agents, stated the tourism industry in Asia will see immediate benefits from China's easing of travel restrictions, which allow for quarantine-free travel. Lastly, the governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, John Panonsa, said that China's optimized epidemic prevention could be positive news for the country's banking industry. Greece has now overturned a previous decision and has moved to impose a pre-flight COVID test requirement for all arrivals from China. The U-turn comes a few days after direct flights between the 2 countries were re-established. The decision has raised questions among business owners who were keen to welcome an influx of Chinese tourists. In Athens, many of them differ from the government's take on the matter, saying they are happy to welcome back visitors from China. Late last week, in a government meeting, the Greek Health Ministry decided to impose measures which included a negative COVID-19 test 48 hours prior to departure from travelers from China and the use of high protection masks at all Greek airports. In the United States, a new storm slammed California on Monday, swamping roads, turning rivers into floodstones, and forcing the evacuation of thousands of people in towns with histories of deadly mudslides. The National Weather Service said rain was expected to continue through Tuesday, after dumping up to 14 inches at higher elevations in central and southern California. In Ventura County, the Ventura River reached its highest level on record at more than 25 feet. Firefighters using helicopters rescued more than a dozen people trapped on an island in the surging waters. Local officials have been urging anyone staying close to the river to move uphill. According to officials, the death toll as a consequence of the storm that began last week climbed up to 14 on Monday after 2 people were killed by falling trees. Now we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.